What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphin content. With me, your boy, Chris Kane, back with more Dolphins content. And today is a relatively slow day in Dolphins talk. But you know what? We still here. Okay? We're here for y'all, the people. And so we know the playoffs are going on right now, and the Dolphins are not in it. So I know some of y'all may not even be watching because there's hate. I like football, so I'm watching. And prize picks. It's not been good. But so what happened last night for most people was not really that important. Washington beat Detroit, which was crazy. Vegas, I'm sure, lost money on that. But what happened is when Washington beat them and made it to the conference championship, they put the Dolphins actually in a bad historical situation where Washington hasn't been to the conference championship since 91. Now, they won the championship that year, but since then, bad. They've been mostly a bad team. They had the RG3 years, and now we have Jaden years. But they haven't been a good team. And because they were worse than us, the Dolphins have their own drought. We'll get into that in a second. But because they advanced, it now put the Dolphins as the longest drought between conference championship appearances. We haven't made it since 92. And I didn't even realize it had been that long. That sounds crazy, like thinking about it. But yeah, that checks out. And so shout out to Washington, but also boo. We don't. No one wants to be at the bottom of the record for like, you know, perspective's sake. The Jets have been there more recently than us. The Jets. The Jets are awful. No one cares about the Jets, but it's bad. So that's one negative record, but then that's compounded by the fact that the Dolphins haven't won a playoff game since the year 2000. We all remember the Lamar Miller game where he just went crazy for over 200 yards, won in overtime. It was a big deal. That was the year 2000. That was the year 2000. That's how long it's been. 24 seasons since a playoff win. Again, the last Jets playoff win was 14 years ago. Shout out to the Sanchez and all those guys. But we have a 10-year longer drought than the Jets. I just got to put it in perspective because the Jets are awful. We all had to play New England for that 20-year run, but somehow the Jets were still making it and getting dubs and we weren't. I don't know. It's a pretty damning, like, 20, 24, almost 25-year history. It's almost like the Cowboys who haven't been to the Super Bowl since 95. But people keep talking about, we won 3 and 4 years. I'm like, yeah, that was in 95, dog. Like, you know, Tupac was alive the last time the Cowboys won a championship. Tupac and Biggie. What are we talking about? Like, so when they start talking about, we got rings, I'm like, yeah. Almost like legit like a century ago, bro. Like, it feels like, was that in black and white? It's been that long. It's been that long for the Dolphins, like, since winning a playoff game, that almost feels like when we make it, it feels like, you know how Buffalo always wins their first round of the playoff because they're usually like the 2 seed and they play like the 7 and they just beat up on them and they lose in the second round. That's how the Dolphins are. We're almost where the Steelers are at this point, where the Steelers make it to the playoffs and we just know they're probably not going to win that game. And I don't like being affiliated with that level of mediocrity, but that's where we are. And, you know, shout out to Washington. They got their QB of the future and whatever. But this is not good for the Dolphins. Let's move on. Let's give you some good news. I know that's like kind of a sour way to start your Sunday. They're like, hey, it's Sunday football. Why are you coming at us with smoke? That wasn't my goal. It's a slow day, and that's what happened. So I'm sure some of you have seen this watching the draft, and I've never quite understood what this was. I had to do a little bit of a deep dive into this, where you'll see a draft, and it'll be like third, fourth round, and there's 32 teams, right? But then you'll see like 36 picks in a round, and they'll say comp pick, comp pick, comp pick, comp pick. And he's like, well, what's this comp pick? Is that like, what? How did that come to be? So what I found out is that when you basically lose a player free agency that's like a really good player, and you don't replace them with a player that's like comparable in goodness, that's not it, comparable in goodness, whatever. You're sometimes entitled to a third, fourth, fifth, or sixth, seventh round like comp pick, right? So like, for instance, the Dolphins lost Christian Wilkins in the offseason, right? We didn't replace Christian with a player at his level. And because he played well this year, the Dolphins are projected to get a third round complimentary pick because of that, right? So we lost Robert Hunt, went to Carolina, got a giant deal. And because he played all year and was pretty solid, we didn't replace him on the O-line. So we may be entitled, and we're saying may because there's only 32 of these picks given out every year, and they're not evenly distributed, right? So it's not like every team gets one. Some team, you can get up to 4, and you can get 0. The Dolphins have gotten 0 before. This year, we're projected to get 3. And so, because Robert Hunt was very good, and we didn't get a better O lineman or someone on his level, then we may be in line for another third round pick because of the Robert Hunt deal, which is cool because you get to third round picks are valuable. Like those should be starters. They could third round pick can be like a superstar or at the very least rotational type piece, right? So Deshaun Elliott was another guy we lost in the offseason. He didn't have as good of a year, so that may be a projected seventh round pick. Now I know some of you are at home thinking, yo, we lost Van Ginkel in the offseason and he's second team all pro. That's like second first round pick. The problem is we signed Jordan Brooks. And so because we replaced him with another linebacker that was around the same talent level going into the year, we don't get any picks for Van Ginkel. So we would have actually been better maybe future letting Van Ginkel go, him balling out the way he did, and just not signing a linebacker. We would have gotten a third round pick for sure. He's for second team all pro bowler, right? So the way they determine what the pick is, and it's a complicated formula, it's like the QBR is like a 20-step thing where it's not like how many completions, is a bunch of other stuff. It's basically the players' annual like money they make per year. Is how often they play. So if they get hurt, your comp pick goes down. If they're postseason awards, so Pro Bowl, All Pro, those kind of things. All that's factored into it, and then it's weighed against other teams and what they lost, and it's a lot that goes into it. But basically, for the first time since like 2020, the Dolphins are actually in line to get some of these comp picks. There are also comp picks for coaches and assistants being hired. So when Mike McDaniel got hired by the Dolphins, San Francisco got comp picks because he's a minority coach. So that's part of it too. But it's a big situation. The whole point is, at this point, we're projected to get 3 more picks based on guys who lost last year. So I know some of us are like, we lost Christian. That's a big deal. Ideally, we'll be able to draft the D tackle. I mean, he was a first-round pick. But if we can draft the tackle in the third round that can kind of do what he was doing a year ago, 2 years ago, then it kind of balances itself out and you get to restart like the rookie wage scale. So I want to give some optimism to balance out that first block where it was like, the Dolphins have been bad for 30 years. And some of you are like, wah, wah, change the channel. There's some good news. We get a few more picks because, again, when your salary cap struck, and I don't have my glasses next to me because I'm not really getting into the cap, but when your money is not great, you can rebuild your team through the draft. That's the best way to add players. Look at the Rams. The Rams, remember when they said F those picks? That was Stan Kroenke that said that, the owner of the team. They basically cashed all their picks out, signed all these players, and then they had to like start like selling people off. And they really just hit the jackpot on like 5 different draft picks, from Kyron Williams to Jared Verse to the other D tackle Florida State, I can't remember right now, Fisk. So they basically hit on guys in the draft that were able to supplant the guys like Aaron Donald that they had before. And now the Rams, within a couple of years, are back in the playoffs, second round, because they just did really well in the draft. So you don't have the money to go out and spend because they spent a lot of money before. But if you rebuild through the draft properly, then it doesn't hurt as bad. You shouldn't go from this to this, right? So we'll see. Hopefully these third round picks become something great. This is a deep draft for a lot of positions like D-line, O-line. It's not a lot of secondary guys. A couple good receivers in the draft. So maybe, we'll see what we can do with that. Final story is this is kind of a feel-good thing. We all love Calais, man. He's Miami guy, went to UM, came back home. I think a lot of people think this is like his swan song this year. But I thought Calais was very solid this year. Like, his stats weren't gaudy. But when you watch him play, he's not what he was 5-6 years ago, obviously. But he's definitely not J.J. Watt at the end, where it's like, this guy can't play anymore. Even though J.J., shout out to you, Hall of Fame coming. But Calais last year was like, this guy is still solid. Like, when they were thinking about trading him toward the end of the year, there were teams being like, yo, what's up with Big CC? You know what I'm saying? Like, can we make this happen? And Mike McDaniel stepped in and said, no, we wanted him to like stay here. We have a chance to win. So he didn't get traded. There's still value. Now, he's 38 now. He turns 39 September 1st, which means he will start next year. 39 is the DN. That is not normal. I know we see LeBron doing reverse dunks and we think, oh, people get old, it don't matter. It still matters, especially on a position where you're in every play engaging, having to shed tacklers and make plays. Like, it's a lot at 39. He's a giant, gentle giant. We all love him. I don't know what he wants to do. He didn't have like a serious injury this year, but he is going on 39. So if he has to come back, we do need to figure out the money part of it. But I'm hoping personally, that's why I have this in this segment. I'm hoping personally he comes back because he's just great for the team. We need senior leadership on the team. You need glue guys. You need people who just do their job, who aren't flashy, look at me kind of people, right? Dolphins have a lot of look at me Louis. As we go. A lot of look at me is like, hey, look at me, I'm open. Like, we have a lot of those kind of people. And Calais is just like, hey, man, I got it. He's steady. He always says the right thing. He's good in the community. So I would love it if Calais stayed, but it's up to him. We'll see what happens. That is it for this episode of Dolphins Daily. I know it's a Sunday. It's a little short episode, but I hope you guys enjoy it. We just hit 200 subs this morning, which is absolutely ridiculous. This page launched 8 days ago. So for you guys to just been supporting and subbing and viewing this at the clip we've been doing, I'm so appreciative. I know I keep bringing up thank you guys, but that's actually how I feel. I've never done this kind of thing before. And for y'all to just be riding with us every day, it's super cool. Let's keep it going. I have a pleasure doing this. So I will see you guys tomorrow on Dolphins Daily.